Welcome everyone, Nick Andre here once again with Team Conti Sim Performance and Xfinity Series at Homestead-Miami Speedway. So we're in some nighttime conditions and some fast pace. We go through some tire life like normal here at Homestead, but really want to encapsulate some tendencies that happen on this track and when to migrate to the top side and 1 to 2 and everything like that. So, with that said, I'm just going to let this play for the first 3 or 4 laps and then just dissect some of the cornering, and then we'll go to that top side like I referenced. So, let's let this roll through. All right, so that's 3 laps. I think that is a good indicator of what we need to look at. So, let me turn my webcam on here, and I want to roll through some tendencies we can focus towards what I'm doing on the track. So, hello. So, my objective going into turn 1, it's pretty simple. It's try to drive with the least resistance of where the front tires are going to slip. So, I want to drive into these seams, crossing the seam away from the wall accurately. So, I'm going to let this roll through, get up to this sign here that you see, the Baptist Health, right? This Baptist Health sign. Let's start turning away from the wall just a hair away from it to get to our entry. I'm not lifting yet because obviously we're nighttime conditions, so still a lot of grip, a lot of potential. But I'm going to find this seam, this first seam, I'm going to be completely off the gas. And you can see how I'm just inching the car as smooth as I can to get the trajectory and angle that I want when I cross this seam to hold this weight line. So my objective when I turn away from the wall, get a smooth decel rate, which is just smooth lifting off the throttle, keep the car in a neutral positive light of where the front has the grip and the rear has the same rate that it's not going to steer and get too loose when I transition to just a tiny bit of brake pedal, right? So with me adding just a little bit of brake, that's just me managing my entry speed, making sure I'm not sliding the rear with too much entry speed and getting off the bottom. So I want to manage that, basically assess that my speed is correct is what I'm doing. So let's slow this still some more. And once I cross the seam with the left front, I'm off the brake. Crossing the seam, I'm still just a tiny bit of brake just to manage that actual apex angle so I can hold this weight line. Holding this weight line to me is very important, so you're not just rushing to 100% throttle. You're actually getting the grip and potential in the left front. And I like managing to wrap that weight line as long as I can. So let's do this in a little slow-mo. You see my initial response is still about 50 to 60%. Still wrapping this weight line. And I'm not driving on top of the weight line to drive on top of it because then I'm going to meet the apron and I'm going to be pushed off of it. So it's obviously not a perfect round edge. You know, it's not the same exact radius going through the corner. So you can see how it has some different angles here. It's very hard to wrap that actual angle on a consistent basis. But your objective is to do some micro adjustments with the wheel and just try to wrap around that area. So 100% throttle, you're going to change that more to be what you feel like you can actually carry for a straight exit, meaning the car is balanced and you're keeping the car and letting the banking continue to help you wrap this corner. And that's going to change more tire life you have. It's going to be prolonged later to where you just stay in partial throttle. But in this case, you're 100% throttle pretty early and you can just use all the grip you have to exit lower. Now, exiting lower off of this corner, which is turn 2, is it's key because you're not going to slide across the seam too early and you're not going to try using too much wheel angle to shape away from the wall the higher you get. So exiting lower is going to be better so you can open the wheel up and really not create a slide off the right rear and hurt your tire life longevity, what you need for straight drive off. So that's turn 2. Just a little bumpy off of 2 here, but we've been here many times. That's not going to be an issue for you guys. So turn 3, it's going to be hard seeing in nighttime conditions. There is a white line that goes from the top of the track down to the bottom white line near this zone. So let's slow it up. I'm going to be turning away from the wall before, again, I start lifting. I'm trying to get my entry trajectory correct. And I'm going to start my decel rate before I actually really cross this actual line and before I cross the seam. So this is the closest seam to the top of the track. You know, on the back stretch, you can see how I'm starting my decel rate, my lifting phase, and I'm really getting the left front kind of right on top of this point of where the seam and white line cross. So that's my arc I like to have. That's my angle to where I know I want to actually have a straight entry down to this white line. Now, turn 3 is many different ways you can attack it, but I think it's even more important to wrap that white line than it is in 1 and 2 and have the patience to wrap it longer so you're not crossing the seam too early on exit. So we're on entry. You can see I'm getting my decel rate. I'm using a little bit of the brake before I get to the seam like I did in turn 1, crossing the seam with as limited brake as I can, and in a rolling phase now. Rolling phase is very important. Just trying to manage this angle, get all this capability to manage my min speed, which is why I'm partial throttle again, keeping the balance of the car neutral, keeping it as 1-to-1 ratio, meaning the front and rear are working at the same rate to continue cornering, which is using the banking, like I referenced in 1 and 2. So 100% throttle, we're going to be able to use 100% throttle early on, new tires, but your objective is to still continue wrapping this exit as far as you can into this Cup Series logo. And why that is important, because you don't want to exit the seam before and really hurt your chances to where you're sliding the right rear even more, because turn 4 is a lot worse than turn 2 in sliding and costing yourself lap time. So we just are at the Cup Series logo off of 4, and you can see I'm really just crossing the seam now, and cannot overstate the importance of not crossing it earlier, you know, because you do not want to slide it the way you're having to use too much wheel, and especially 20 laps to a run, that's going to be a detriment to you. So it's pretty simple. That's what you're looking for balance-wise and attacking the corners. Now, going to get to around lap 25. Let's go to lap 25 here. And, yep, 26 actually. So, going to see a difference of going to the top side. Let's let this play through. Got a tenth of a pickup, tenth of a second pickup just running on the top side in 1 and 2 compared to the bottom in 1 and 2 on lap 25 to 26. And that's just because all the momentum you carry on exit. So I'll let this again continue to play through, but we'll go back and just dissect turns 1 and 2 on the top side. See, pretty smooth straight exit. Try not to use too many wheel corrections. All right, so let's get closer to the top side here in turns 1, and you can see how I'm just kind of entering and lifting around the wall, right? I'm not driving till I see the brushed, marks on the wall to where people have been into it. I'm trying to manage my entry speed now, using a little bit of brake and turning away from the wall to make sure I have this capability to slide up just a half a lane to a full lane to use the effects of the wall and the whole range of the track and distance of the track I can actually use. So, gonna get partial throttle, let it drift up a little bit, manage my partial throttle because we're obviously 25 laps to a run. And now that I'm actually at the wall, I got the balance like I want, I can get to that full throttle moment. And I'm not using too much wheel to turn away from it. I'm using the same ability of getting to the wall and keeping the balance the same. And let me rewind here just to give you a good understanding. When I get to this wall, you can see how I'm getting closer and closer. So my objective is to keep the right front and the right rear at the same distance the whole time I'm actually working to the wall, meaning keeping it capable and the potential there. I'm trying to keep it the same rate. As soon as I get close to it, I can actually just use that bubble and then stabilize the car and then just stay in 100% and get that actual grip that I need. So that's just the top side of 1 and 2. Let this go to 3, 3, and 4 just on a chase perspective so you guys can see. So partial throttle, continue wrapping to the Cup Series logo. Alright, so those are some quick guides of what I'm looking for at Homestead, what I'm looking to do. Obviously, you have a second of a fall off really in 20-25 laps, and what the car is capable of, and then you're going to have even more fall off if you're just working through the tires like I was from the start to lap 25, and you can see I had a second and a half of fall off. So you can manage your tires and pace here a lot more than other tracks. So just work the tires in the first 5-10 laps. I think you'd be good. And a lot of times this rewards patience in that regard. Even if you feel like you got to attack entry so much, like you just got to bide your time and be patient. So that's going to do it for us. It's going to do it for me at Homestead-Miami Speedway. And always a DM away if you guys got any questions regarding this video or anything like that. So please feel free to reach out. Thank you guys for choosing Team Conti Sim Performance, and see you guys on the racetrack.